Bringing you the latest news from around the world, and here at home I'm Fernando, and here are your headlines for tonight.
More alarming revelations on 2012 Kalika prison riot. Youth killed in Ambalantora shooting. Debate on second reading on budget continues in Parliament. Education Minister announces appointment of special committee to probe issues at Examinations Department.
Ninth of November 2012, a day that the Sri Lankan human rights record received another black mark. Yesterday, we brought to you some startling revelations regarding the Kalika prison clash that occurred in 2012, as well as the death of 27 inmates. Today, on Expose, News First spoke with an eyewitness of the event to find out what transpired on that fateful day.
We got to know that the army had reached the front gate of the prison. There was no unusual behavior. They came near the front gate despite objections from officers at the prison. They entered the area where suspects are being detained. There was no reason to create a clash because they had successfully blocked the exits. They then entered Chapel Ward, which is where the death row inmates are. They fired tear gas into prison cells that were closed.
According to the committee report and the investigations I conducted as a journalist, the former Commissioner General of Prisons in August 2012 had requested the help to conduct a search in the prison. The request had been made to provide 300 police STF personnel. However, according to this report, 798 armed military personnel took part in the operation.
They fired tear gas to incite the prisoners. They beat up the prisoners in an inhumane manner. That is when all of this transpired.
According to the prison guards who gave evidence for this committee report, they had tried to resolve this peacefully on 2 occasions. Like Nandimal said, the army had initially conducted a search. The prisoners got riled up. The armed personnel then retreated to the main gate while firing tear gas. They continued to fire tear gas from the gate. The media did not show this back then. No one saw this, so the public believed that the prisoners that were on the roof were shooting. What really happened was a discussion took place between prison guards and the inmates. While these 2 discussions were taking place, STF officers had fired shots into the prison. We clearly know that there is a chain of command. There is a commander-in-chief or secretary of defense.
Former
IGP NK Ilangakon testified that the STF was not under his command back then. All the armed forces came under the former president as the commander-in-chief and the minister of defense. Then comes the secretary of defense.
Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca expressed these views following an event held in the Pitigoda Kalania.
It has been 5 years since the incident at the Kalika prison which occurred during the regime of Mahinda Rajapaksa. What do you have to say about this report? According to the information that we have received, the report has revealed information about the individuals who are connected to it. We have heard some of the witnesses have also received death threats by now. It was an inhuman crime. People are imprisoned for various reasons. Those who have committed crimes, who have done something by accidents, due to anger and so on. All these people are in prison. We should be ashamed of the fact that this country was governed by a group of leaders who have a mentality to threat people in this manner.
The debate on the second reading of the 2018 budget continued for a second day today. Here are some of the views expressed from the debate.
As a government, they don't have a stable economic plan for their remaining time in office. When the minister changes, the economic outlook changes. You have clearly shown with the use of graphs the ill effects of debt increasing. The revenue is not sufficient for debt servicing.
We have a suggestion. Don't change the price of beer, but impose a tax on that as well. A tax based on the alcohol percentage. Don't reduce the price of beer. You will not be able to get the desired outcomes. This will provide children and women with their first step to becoming addicted to alcohol.
Beer is a middle-class drink which you consume to enjoy yourself. Instead of reducing the price of beer, I request the finance minister to reduce the price of arak so that our hard-working labourers can access it more easily. They expect something after a hard day's work.
The tax burden continues to rise. The expenses are skyrocketing. The taxes are being imposed because of the bond scam. The government has increased the burden on the public so that the Prime Minister can protect his friends.
A budget was presented for the 100-day government in 2015. A budget was also presented for 2016 and 17. However, we have our doubts as to whether the money allocated for various ministries through these budgets were released by the Treasury. Education received an allocation of 203 billion in 2016. However, the actual expenditure was 65 billion. 30 billion was allocated for the Megapolis Ministry. However, they have spent only 13, or they received only this amount.
That is what happens when you try to please the public using numbers. This happened in 2017 and 2016. However, I know that Minister Mangal Samarweera is not someone who uses impractical figures. This is not an attempt to make the ministers happy. We will receive what has been allocated and we will have to manage with what we receive. You can amaze the people with numbers for some time, but eventually the person who presents this is the one who is amazed.
A meeting was held in Halyala under the auspices of State Minister of Highways Dilan Pereira today.
Mangalage Mangala Ayavaya Vadipura Mangala Karna Thiyana Ayavaya Enisa apita kiyanna puluwan Mangalage Mangala Ayavaya Jaya Mangalam kiya Subha Mangalam kiya ඉතින් ඉස්සෙල්ලා තිබුණ අයවැය දෙක සම්බන්ධයෙන් සම්මුතිවාදී ආණ්ඩුවකට හිටියත් අපිට දිගටම තිබුණේ ප්‍රශ්නාර්ථ පේනවා පරිසරයට හිතකාමී වටට ආදායම් වෙන මාර්ග උත්පාදනය වෙන පොඩි මිනිහට බදු ගහන්නේ නැති එන නීල හරිත ගුවත් නිලුයි කොළයි දෙකම වගේ ඒක තමයි නීල හරිත අයවැය ගෙනාවේ.
Addressing the budget seminar organized by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, Chairman of Ceylon Chamber of Commerce Rajendra Tyagaraja commented on the government's plans for state banks.
From a capital markets point of view, I think the single prominent announcement which came was the opportunity. Of course, it's not driven, it's an opportunity for the two state banks, if they choose to use the listing process to raise capital. I think some of us in the past 6 or 7 years during post-budget have been lobbying for this. Given that around 40-45% of the banking sector business is still driven by the two state banks, if they are given the opportunity like all other private banks to get into the listing framework, the benchmark, the bar will certainly be raised in terms of disclosure, transparency and governance. And that will be driven by the capital market. And if they start to shape policy, it will be a different ball game altogether for the Sri Lankan capital market. And I think the two best examples we have amongst our neighbors is the role State Bank of India has played and State Bank of Pakistan has played by just a modest floating of 10% and 5% respectively in the last 10 years. You can see with SBI listed in New York what that has done to that particular bank in the last decade. So that was the positive. It's an opportunity.
The report on the Committee on the Public Accountants for year 2015 is to be presented to Parliament on Monday.
We did not talk about whether it is practically possible to call in reports of 831 institutes in 365 days. Therefore, presenting reports of 35 to 40 institutes to Parliament is what has been happening for a long time. We have so far presented 3 reports along with supplementary reports. As the working committee, we tried our level best and we have been able to call in reports of 145 institutes during the years 2015, 2016 and 2017. After extensive discussions, we have entered the data of all these institutions into a network system which connects Parliament and the Auditor General's Department. Accordingly, the report that will be presented on Monday will have the information of all 831 institutes. For the first time in the history of the Parliament, a report with information of all institutes that should be called in by the Committee on Public Accounts will be presented in Parliament. Deputy Minister Lasantha Alagewanna further noted that since the Parliament has received the reports of 800 out of the 831 state institutes for the year 2016, they are able to present that special report to Parliament by the end of the year. The other 31 institutes will take more time. We have received the data of 800 institutes. It is the 2015 one that will be presented in 2017. Reports of the 831 institutes for the year 2016 will be presented before the end of the year.
The Gazette notification which specified the number of elected members for each local government body was released today.
The Gazette lists out the number of members that will be elected to each local government body through the divisional method as well as the first-past-the-post method. The Gazette notification also explains the powers vested in the Elections Commission in order to maintain the equilibrium of members elected through the divisional as well as the first-past-the-post methods. Following an event held in Galle today, Minister Chandima Weerakodi commented on election preparations of the SLFP. We have begun the party reforms. As a political party that is close to the people, we are ready for an election at any time. The people of this country also believe that the joint opposition will work for the people in the future. There is nothing to discuss. We are all the same. We have always spoken with each other. It did not stop and will not stop. For the sake of the country's future, we will unite all factions and forge ahead with a people-friendly policy. That is the aim of the SLFP.
Opposition leader and leader of the Tamil National Alliance, MP R. Sampanthan, has called on President Maithripala Sirisena to release 132 acres of army-held land in Kepa Palavu as promised.
In a letter to the President earlier this week, the opposition leader makes reference to an August 22nd meeting between the President and MPs Mave Senadiraja and M.A. Sumandiran, where a promise has been given to release 132 acres of land within 3 months. R. Sambandhan notes that the Secretary of Defence had informed him through a letter that the land will be released by the end of the year. While reminding the President that the 3-month period expires on the 23rd of November, the opposition leader also called on the President to intervene in order to release another 73 acres of army-held land in the area. He notes that civilians in the area who had been protesting for the release of the land are not interested in alternative land or compensation as they have a strong personal attachment to the land in question. Sambandhan concludes by stating that the denial of their legitimate right to their land would be immensely harmful to reconciliation.
A 19-year-old was shot dead by the police near the Kogalaliyam junction in Ambalantota late yesterday.
The incident took place at around midnight while a police special operation was underway in the area. 2 individuals on a motorcycle who had not been wearing protective helmets fled the area when an officer at a police barricade hailed them. While in pursuit of the suspects, the police has been cut off by a small lorry passing the area. The police media spokesperson noted that persons within the lorry had then opened fire at the police. 2 9mm shell casings were discovered from the scene later. One officer had fired back at the lorry. According to the police media spokesperson, the lorry had then fled the area. The driver and another individual who were travelling in the truck surrendered to the Ambalantota police this morning through a lawyer. Following a preliminary investigation, it has been revealed that the truck was transporting a stock of bananas stolen from a field. The suspects that surrendered to the police noted that 1 person had died in the shooting. The stock and the body of the deceased who was killed during the shootout have been discovered 2.5 kilometers from the location of the barricade along with a hand grenade. The victim has been identified as Milan Sandeep, a 19-year-old resident of Habaral Talawa. Relatives of the deceased note that they could not find any signs of a shooting at the back of the lorry and notes that they had observed a bullet hole in the front of the lorry.
If the police shot them, then it is wrong. The police could have arrested them. If they were not heeding police orders, they could have shot at a tire. There should be a law in the country.
Minister of Health Dr. Rajitha Senaratne revealed plans today to transform the Neville Fernando Hospital into a teaching hospital by merging it with the Mullaria Base Hospital. Now, the minister expressed these views while attending a function at the Mullaria Base Hospital.
The Director General of Health brought in a good proposal. That is why I asked what is the distance from here to Neville Fernando Hospital. Then when we connect these two hospitals, it will be a hospital complex. OPD services will be carried out here. There will be new buildings, and then we have a teaching hospital in the east as well. The medical faculty can also use this hospital system.
And now taking a look at a story that made it the headlines tonight. Minister of Education Akila Viraj Karyavasam has appointed a special committee to look into several issues, including securing the confidentiality of examinations at the Department of Examinations.
The ministry said the committee is to investigate issues pertaining to several processes of the Department of Examinations. Accordingly, the committee is to look into several aspects, including the process of holding examinations, correction of answer scripts, procurement of question papers, and identifying the council involved. Meanwhile, the duties of the Deputy Examinations Commissioner, who had been working as the head of the Confidential and Institutional Exams Division of the Ministry, was suspended after several allegations, including failing to accomplish his responsibilities, were levelled against him. The communique further notes that the letter of suspension was issued to the Secretary to the Minister of Education, Sunil Hettiarachi.
The general public is aware that there were several issues in the Ministry of Education. Based on certain information that I have received, I have instructed to commence an investigation into this matter. Following the evidence received from this investigation, certain decisions were taken by the Secretary to the Ministry under the guidance of the Commission. Regardless of who is wrong, be it the Ministry or the Department of Education, action will be taken against those responsible.
Funds were donated to the Janasuya Community Ward Project in Tissamaharama today under the auspices of Minister Sajith Premadasa.
The project was established at a cost of 2.8 million rupees. 377 families from the Magama, Halmillava and Andaragasya area will benefit from the project. This year's budget provides a lot of importance to the Ministry of Housing and Construction. I am very happy to say that the Honourable Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira has increased the funds to the Ministry by 66% compared to last year. Through the Finance Minister's plan, we will be able to make the Samanta Sevana dream come true in 2025.
Addressing an event held at the Mahamanthida Pirivena in Matara today, UNP MP Buddhika Pathiruna expressed these views to the media.
When I was entering politics, people asked me why I was going to join the cattle herd. They asked if I wanted to become part of this herd. It is not wrong for them to ask this question. Because of the 225 members of parliament, around 142 have either failed A-levels or have not sat for the exam. Around 94 of these people have not even passed O-levels or have not sat for the exam. How can a country prosper if there are such idiots in both parties? God bless the country, because these cows are creating the laws of the country. Who elected such cattle to parliament? Who gave them the nominations? Why do you vote for everyone who is nominated?
A concert and an art exhibition by the children with special needs was held at the Yoshida International School.
Commenced this morning under the auspices of the President of the Sri Lanka Mahabodhi Society, Venerable Banagala Upatisatera. Students of the Udana Special Needs School in Maharagama also joined in exhibiting their talents. A few months back, I visited a large special needs school in Hyderabad, India. There were about 500 to 600 children. They said they did not want our pity, but our guidance. This is a good opportunity for us to understand the reality. Today I may be able to see, but tomorrow for some reason I may go blind. I may lose my...
A special police raid was carried out between 11 p.m. yesterday and 3 a.m. today, covering all police divisions of the country. The special raid was carried out under the supervision of IGP Pujit Jayasundara.
16,362 police officers took part in the raid. During the operation, 948 raids were conducted to crack down on illicit liquor. A total of 5,744 vehicles were checked and 3 weapons were discovered. A total of 758 warranted suspects were arrested during the operation. Police media spokesperson SP Ruan Gunasekara said 962 individuals were arrested on suspicion, while 86 suspects of criminal activities were also apprehended.
The ministerial committee appointed by the President to look into the recent petrol shortage has begun collecting data.
Secretary to the Minister of Petroleum Resources Development, Upali Marasinghe, said that the committee is to collect information on the recent petrol crisis and submit a report. A petrol crisis was created in the country last Friday with the rejection of a substandard oil ship imported by Lanka IOC. As a solution to the problem, the ship carrying the oil imported from United Arab Emirates arrived in the island on the 8th of November, and Upali Marasinghe said that subsequently 5,500 metric tons of petrol were released into the market. Meanwhile, the Swaraji vessel carrying 15,000 metric tons of petrol imported by Lanka IOC reached Trincomalee harbour this morning. The Tom Estate vessel with substandard fuel and the unique developer vessel with which the substandard fuel was to be exchanged were seen anchored off the Trincomalee harbour today as well.
And with that, we wrap up Weekend in Primetime News. I'm Fernando. Do take care and good night.